Hey, moneymakers, welcome back to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm your host, Kalila Enriquez Reynolds, and it's my pleasure to be here with you yet another week. Tonight, we are talking to the newly minted boss of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Livingstone Morrison. I know you guys have a lot of questions for him, and so do I. So stay tuned because all of that is coming up, and you can start leaving your questions in the chat from now. And later on, we have our analyst who's going to be looking at NCB's bounce back. Yeah, NCB stock has been rising lately. What's behind it and is it sustainable? We're going to be discussing later on in the show. But first, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend that Taking Stock is on. Share this video with them. Share it on WhatsApp. Share it on Facebook. Share it wherever you share on social media. Also, let me know in the chat what part of Jamaica or what part of the world you're joining us from so I can give you a shout out a little bit later on in the show. Now, come on, let's get this money. On this episode of Taking Stock, the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a new boss, but who is Livingstone Morrison and what plans does he have in store for the JSE? He'll join us. Plus, the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. NCB's stock price has rallied in the last month. Is the stock making a comeback? We'll discuss.
But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Mayberry Jamaican Equities says its latest bond offer, which closed last week, was oversubscribed. The company was looking to raise up to 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars to refinance its debts and expand its investment portfolio. The basis of allotment is expected to be released soon. First Rock Real Estate says it has repaid its debt to Sagicor Bank, ending the receivership for Hambani Estates. In June, Sagicor placed several lots of the luxury housing development in receivership after First Rock failed to repay a $10 million loan. According to First Rock, it used the proceeds of a corporate note structured and arranged by Mayberry Investments to repay Sagicor fully. Jamaica's point-to-point inflation rate fell to 1.2% in August. That's the lowest it's been since the 1960s. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, the main contributors were restaurants and accommodation services, education, and information and communication. An increase in the cost of prep school fees led to an overall 10% increase in the education index, while the restaurants and accommodation services index rose 5%. These increases were buffered by an almost 6% fall in the information and communication index, which was mainly attributed to adjusted prices for mobile data plans. Global credit rating agency Fitch has maintained its credit rating and outlook on Jamaica after the country's recent general election. The agency said it does not expect any significant economic or fiscal policy changes following the re-election of the Jamaica Labour Party for a third term. Fitch kept Jamaica's rating at a BB- with a positive outlook. It also forecasts the island's debt-to-GDP ratio to decline to 59% in 2027, 1 year ahead of the 2028 target. The U.S. Federal Reserve has finally cut the benchmark interest rate for the first time since last December. The U.S. Central Bank announced a 25 basis point reduction, bringing interest rates to a range of 4 to 4.25%. The Fed has also signaled that more cuts are likely this year. President Donald Trump had been pushing for the central bank to reduce borrowing costs in order to spur economic growth, but the Fed said its decision was based on the need to support a weakening job market.
What's Hot was brought to you by JMB Group, your best interest at heart.
You don't need to be a financial expert to get your money right. That's why I created the Money Mission Workbook. It's for people like you who want to finally get clear on your money, make a solid plan, manage your debt, and even start investing for the future. Everything you need is in one place. If you're ready to level up, this is where you start. Head on over to Amazon.com to buy now. The link is in my bio. Let's get this money. Welcome back. Let's see who we have in the house. Let's shout out our viewers. We've got Garfield in Spanish Town. Chairman saying greetings massive. 1 Coco Investor, good night from Toronto, still counting the dividend coins on top of coins. Good for you. We got the Diplomat checking in from Atlanta. Worrell saying good night, checking in from Mobay. Connect with Jalt is active. Dalton is in the Cayman Islands. Raquel saying good night to the money makers. Scotty is in Kingston. Ingrid checking in from Bull Bay, and Philip is in TCI. Nanosense is watching as usual from far, far away. And Roswell checking in from Unity. All right, so let's see who we have online. Actually before that, so for all of our foreign viewers, I see who we had. I wasn't making a note of them. But for all of our foreign viewers, did you know that you can send money to Jamaica easily and securely using Tap Send? There's low or no fees, fast transfers, and guess what? It's also reliable. So if you want to send $100, your family member gets the full $100, no fees. You can download the app from the App Store, but you have to be living in either the US, the UK, or Canada. So all the people who are DMing me from Jamaica and the Caribbean, it doesn't work here. You have to be in the US, UK, and Canada. So for all our viewers in those countries, download the Tap Send app, send money safely and securely to your family, and use the code Kalila10 for an extra $10 on your first transfer. Okay, so Livingstone Morrison has had the top job at the Jamaica Stock Exchange for a couple of weeks now, and we want to know how it's been going and what plans he has for the future of the JSE. Joining us for the first time since his appointment is the newly minted CEO of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Livingstone Morrison. Hi, Livingstone. Good evening, and welcome to Take Stock.
Greetings, Kalila. Greetings to your listeners. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Great to have you. So I know you from the Bank of Jamaica, from being the deputy governor at the BOJ for some years, but some of our viewers may not know who you are, may not know anything about your background. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, up to recently, as a career central banker, I spent over 30 years at the Bank of Jamaica. During that period, I championed the payment system reform, guided the development of the strategy for modernizing the operations of the bank, and a number of other opportunities. The overall portfolio included finance, administration, and a range of other operational functions. I have also, and this is probably something that is not widely known, I've served more than 18 years as a director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And during that period, I headed the Regulatory Market Oversight Committee and served on several other committees within the organization. I also served as deputy chairman of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and up to my appointment, I chaired the boards of the JCSD, Jamaica Central Securities Depository, and the trustee services. My passion is strategic plan, developing strategic plan, people development, and of course, modernizing payment systems and financial market infrastructure. Those are areas that I've been very passionate about. I've had the opportunity to serve across the region for more than 10 years. I was the deputy chair of the Western Hemisphere Payments Forum, where we focused on modernizing payments and settlement systems in Caribbean jurisdiction. So it has been a varied set of experiences, and I look forward to bringing those experiences to bear on my job, my new job at the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
So you do come with extensive experience, as you've outlined, and specific experience to the Jamaica Stock Exchange, having served on the board as well. What prompted this transition from career central banker to now managing a stock exchange?
heaven knows there are easier things to do with one's time. But I'm passionate about service, and I was in Belize, your home country,
Oh, nice.
assisting the central bank there, and a number of colleagues spoke to me, and the essence of their message to me is that the country needs me. So I jumped on a plane and came back.
Oh, you were doing some consultancy work in Belize.
Yes, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
So
I was
you're back
for two
now.
years. For 2 years, yes.
2 whole years. Look at
Mm.
that. I hope you liked it. But you're back now and here to run the stock exchange. What would you say are the things that you are focusing on in the early days of your CEO-ship?
So I'm very sensitive to the fact that Dr. Street Forest, who I succeed, has been an iconic figure, transformational leader. She has championed the development of the Jamaica Stock Exchange and by extension, the capital market here in Jamaica. I'm very sensitive to that. She has uh, strong relations within the organization. And, we're going through a change. It's a significant change. There are many team members who know no other leader apart from Dr. Street Forest.
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time with the team members, the leaders, and other staff members to just help them to understand that we're all pursuing the same objective, which is to advance the development of the Jamaica Stock Exchange and the capital market in general, and that the focus is on building on the legacy of Dr. Street Forest, while at the same time ensuring that we can continue uh, to identify those opportunities for further development and make sure that the market is ready, for action, irrespective of the environmental circumstances within which we find ourselves. So it has been focused attention on conveying a message of continuity first and foremost, and building resilience as we go forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You have some big shoes to fill there with Dr. Street Forest occupying an iconic space in our minds, leadership of the stock exchange. But what would you say are some of the top challenges that the JSE faces as you take over?
Yeah, there are a number of initiatives that we have on the table. So we have been guiding the development of the market uh, and preparing ourselves to ensure that investors, companies, whoever the stakeholders in the capital market uh, is at this point in time, have an opportunity to use our utility to mobilize capital and to build wealth. That's our focus. There are several opportunities that we have championed, and we need to ensure that the benefits of those initiatives materialize and bear fruit. So the major challenge is to focus on execution of some of the strategic initiatives that are on the table. Uh, there are immediate priorities relating to fostering, facilitating the trading of government securities, for example. We need to make sure that we execute in short order. And we have been strengthening improving, increasing the menu of opportunities that are available to investors. Short selling is one of those opportunities that we also need to focus on implementing in the short term. And there are several other issues which we'll get into later on.
Yeah, I think the trading of government securities is a low-hanging fruit because even in the region, other stock exchanges that are less active than Jamaica's, that is one of the primary functions of those stock exchanges, facilitating trading of government securities. And then, like you mentioned, short selling has been on the table for at least 5 years now, probably about 6 years, at least since the first time I heard of it coming to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. But another major issue is investor confidence, particularly post the SSL scandal and everything that has happened since. We've seen a decline in the value of the Jamaica Stock Exchange post 2019 and then post SSL. How do you plan to rebuild investor confidence?
So, thanks for that question, Khalida. Investor confidence is and bolstering investor confidence is a shared responsibility. We intend to focus on our contribution to that. Market integrity is what we must offer, continue to strengthen the mechanisms for promoting market integrity. The rules of the Jamaica Stock Exchange are clear. We continue to look for opportunity to strengthen those, and compliance with those rules very, very important. And that's a context in which we must ensure that there is compliance with the filing requirements, for example, as a key contributor to ensuring that investor confidence is bolstered. We have to also continue to invest time in educating and building awareness about various market developments and issues. We do have the capacity to engage different stakeholder groups, and we'll continue to do that in a purposeful way, possibly using more media to ensure that we can get our message across. But we're very, very focused on playing our part as a stakeholder in this whole process of improving investor confidence over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you that compliance is a big one. But one of the issues, and we've talked about it repeatedly on this show, is this shortage of auditors and the fact that a lot of, especially the junior market companies, aren't able to have that sort of access or in a timely manner, especially, which has led to an abundance of late filings. How is it even possible for us to address that?
So the easy conclusion to come to is that we have a shortage of auditors, and that's the issue. And I have no doubt that at the very least that's part of the challenge that we need to navigate. But I think it's very, very important, Khalila, that we have a thorough understanding of what are the underlying issues before we try to identify and implement sustainable solutions. There are questions as to whether or not the market is growing and the number of listed companies have grown rapidly and outpaced the rate at which the accounting service profession can supply these needs. That's a question. So it's important that we engage the stakeholders to understand the issues and identify both the short, the medium, and the long-term solutions. We intend to start with engagement of the audit profession through our meetings with the ICAJ, which we're attempting to organize now. We will be surveying our investor groups because at the end of the day, the primary responsibility that we must discharge is to ensure market efficiency through timely dissemination of information about listed companies, all their happenings. That's the basis on which investors must make decisions on their portfolio management strategy. So we have to be sensitive to the fact that there is need for timely and accurate information. and we will need to engage the investors to ensure that we understand things from their perspectives. We also need to engage our listed companies, and we will be doing that. The PSOJ governance group will be part of the discussion as well. I suspect that, the many of strategies, as I said earlier, will cover some short-term interventions. Clearly, the rules of the Jamaica Stock Exchange must be observed, and we probably need to be tougher with those companies that are in violation. We will have to do that. But at the end of the day, to get a sustainable solution, we need to understand what are the underlying issues, and then we'll treat with that. Is there a need for us to modify our rules? Is there a need for us to ensure greater use of technology as part of this process of collecting and sharing information, uh, quality information, accurate information with the investing public, recognizing that they are the ultimate players that we need to be supporting.
Do the auditing firms have to be local? Do they have to be based in Jamaica? Because with, like you mentioned, technology, this type of work can be done from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and the audit firms are based locally, but they do have international reach and connection. At the end of the day, we need to ensure that there is quality auditing services available to all the companies in a timely fashion. How we do that, we will have to see.
So could we hire a firm? Like, let's say I had a company that's listed on the JSE. Is it allowed? Is it in the rules that I could use a firm based outside Jamaica? Or is it just that the company has to have knowledge of Jamaica's rules and regulations?
I'm not sure that the rules governing the provision of audit services in Jamaica allows for that. But in any event, most of the audit firms are part of a global network, and I suspect that any firm that is going to qualify for uh, providing audit services in Jamaica would have to be ranked on that level. And I don't think there are many outside of those that are here with us.
Yeah. Now, we got to talk about the micro stock exchange. There was a big fanfare about this when it was announced a few months ago. And we've been told that it is planned for, I guess, early to mid 2026. I think it was April 2026 that the minister had said, or Ms. Street
Yeah.
Forest had said. What's the progress there? Where are we now with the micro exchange?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It's one of my top priorities for obvious reasons. If the minister wants it to happen, it needs to happen, right? And we need to make sure that it happens in a way that will redound to its success in bringing opportunities for mobilizing capital to small and medium-sized entities. And we're mindful, clear that uh, last numbers I saw, between 85–90% of companies in Jamaica qualify as small and medium. So if we exclude those companies from the mechanism, access to the mechanism for mobilization of capital, then we're undermining our growth and development, economic growth opportunities. So I'm excited about contributing, and I will be leading the team as in seeking to develop not just a platform but an entire ecosystem that will make those opportunities available to the small and medium-sized entities. I'm excited about the team that has been lined up, covering the various stakeholder groups, and I'm looking forward to working with them. It's too early to speak about the specifics of the the micro market. We have a number of design options that we'll think about. We have to make sure that we come up with a mechanism that works for the target audience, and that's going to be interesting. Of course, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We need to take guidance from some of the other countries that have gone before us and then customize and tailor to meet our own needs. There are two things that I brought to the table. One, we need to maximize the use of technology. In first of all, bringing the entities to market, uh, and also to support their compliance regime. So you can anticipate that when we launch early next year, we will be launching a platform that maximizes the use of technology to support listings and the compliance regime. So yes, exciting times. We fortunately did a lot of work which we can leverage. The junior market project is still relatively new, and a lot of us participated in those processes. So we'll be leveraging those experiences to advance this particular project.
Are you aware if there is a micro exchange anywhere else in the world, or would we be a world leader in that regard?
I think there are micro exchanges elsewhere. Don't quote me on this, but I think I'm thinking of an African country, at least one that I recall having one. But we will be looking for guidance from other jurisdictions as well.
Let me take some questions from the audience because there are quite a few here, starting with Learn, Grow, Invest. What will the JSE do to increase the number of active participants in the market?
Well, we are set up for that. We have a business development unit that has the responsibility for engaging stakeholders, and they have been doing a great deal of work. We'll continue to do that. Or market education and public awareness programs, we're building those. We have a couple of programs that will target students, including primary school students, as we think about a future in which a large proportion of our young entrepreneurs and investors actually see the stock market as an option and a primary vehicle for their wealth creation objectives. So yes, a multifaceted approach, but that's what we're about.
Next question comes from Doreen. When will we have assistance to trading NYSE and NASDAQ stocks through the JSE? And two, do you guys plan on upgrading your trading platform to be more efficient in getting updated info?
We have upgraded our platform, and of course, we continue to look for opportunities to do better. We are in constant discussion with our partners in North America and elsewhere as we seek to make more opportunities available to our investing public.
Scotty wants to know, does the JSE have AI in mind?
Absolutely. Everybody should, and we definitely do.
Next question comes from Learn, Grow, Invest again. When will we get access to more sophisticated trading tools built into JTrader Pro?
Oh, great question. And this is a challenge, a delicate balancing act that we are constantly contemplating. So we have the opportunity to deploy a number of different tools. Earlier, Kalila, you reminded us that we have been looking at short selling for some time. And the functionality, the rules governing that, those are things that we have done and we have other functionalities that we have worked on. The challenge, though, is that we need to make sure that, when we invest in these upgrades and new market functionalities, that the stakeholders are ready to deploy those tools. So it's a delicate balancing act, which has to be grounded in engagement of stakeholders generally, and to bring to market what they consider to be the most appropriate tools at particular points in time. We are very, very keen on ensuring that investors have a range of tools to advance their investment objectives. But, until they are ready, we can push, but we have to kind of find that equilibrium between what is being demanded and what we are investing in providing.
Grandeur Food says, beg your higher dividend payout, new CEO.
We have, and I must say to our investors, these are investors in the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Most people don't appreciate that we are, except for our investors, our shareholders, of course, that the Jamaica Stock Exchange is a listed company, and we are mindful of our responsibility to ensure that we run the company in a prudent fashion, so that we can continue to pay attractive dividend to our shareholders.
I'm going to take a couple more questions. Ryan says, I would like for you to change the rules to prevent companies from doing an APO.
Interesting. And, I've heard some interesting things over the last couple of days. And, we're mindful that with APOs and with the significant increase in listings generally, what we're doing is providing more investment opportunities to Jamaican investors and investors generally. And with the wider choice, it changes the dynamics. It changes the liquidity profile, and traditional listings. And investors would have to be thinking about how they deploy their resources across a wider pool of investments. That changes the investment dynamics significantly. So I do understand the comment, but as a utility, we're going to be mobilizing capital where that is needed in a manner that protect the interest of investors generally. I suspect that we're in transition with a wider pool of investment opportunities that are available, but that's a good problem to have.
Last question comes from Garvin. Is the JSE considering the implementation of standardized reporting forms similar to the 10K reports in the US? This would assist in electronic submissions, etc.
Oh, absolutely. I so love the question, because that is within our contemplation as we seek to address this challenge that we face pertaining to filings. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Livingstone. But before you go, let me just ask you for your parting words. What would be your long-term vision for the Jamaica Stock Exchange?
So I'm a little reluctant to venture down that road. The Jamaica Stock Exchange is an established organization, a mature organization. We have a strategic plan that has been developed through consultation with a wide group of stakeholders. And I don't want to convey the view that the mission, the vision of the Jamaica Stock Exchange changes with changes in CEO. Having said that, though, I do bring to the table, and I look forward to my own contribution to the annual strategic planning discussions. I choose to reframe the question, Kalila, to what is it that I would like to accomplish during my tenure as CEO. Obviously, continue to grow the revenue base and improve the profit performance of the Jamaica Stock Exchange is at the heart of what I'm responsible for delivering. But at another level, I would really love for a significant increase in the number of young entrepreneurs that are using the Jamaica Stock Exchange to raise capital to advance their dreams and business ideas, and also to invest in the stocks and shares that we provide. I think, you know, especially young Jamaicans wanting to build a legacy for themselves and to grow wealth, to create and generate wealth. The Jamaica Stock Exchange is a vehicle that is always available. And throughout my tenure, I want to make sure that I champion that and find mechanisms and opportunities to encourage more young persons to see the investing in stocks and shares as a part of their engineering their financial future.
All right. Thank you very much, Livingstone. Great to have you. And I wish you all the best in your tenure.
Thank you. And I look forward to our continued engagement.
Before we go to market recap and to our break, it's time for tonight's poll question. So late last week, you would have heard the announcement of the new cabinet of Jamaica, which I put new in quotation marks because it's pretty much the same cabinet. There haven't been many major changes. And Fayval Williams has been reappointed finance minister. What do you think of her reappointment as Jamaica's finance minister? Here are your options. A, great choice. She's qualified. She's been doing a good job. B, not the right decision. C, bring back Nigel. Or D, other. Just leave a comment and let us know what you think about Fayval Williams' reappointment as finance minister. A, great choice. She's qualified. B, not the right decision. C, bring back Nigel. Or other, leave a comment. You can take that poll over on Twitter, X, or in our email newsletter tomorrow, or on the community tab here on YouTube, or you can just leave a comment in the chat and let us know what you think about Fayval Williams being reappointed finance minister. Up next is your market recap, and our analyst is standing by. Market Recap is brought to you by My Money JA, the official data partner of Money Media. The JSE combined index was mostly flat last week. 126 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, September 19, 2025. 55 made gains, 58 lost value, and 13 stayed the same. 125 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $807 million. TransJam was the week's most traded stock, with 40 million shares changing hands. It started the week at $4.01. Sagicor Select Funds Financial was up 2% to start Monday at 46 cents, and Indies Pharma rounded out last week's most traded stocks, down about 1%. Now let's see who had the biggest gains. ISP Finance was the JSE's top stock, up 32% to open the week at $14.97. First Rock Real Estate USD was the second biggest gainer, up 24%, and Medical Disposables and Supplies rounded out the top stocks, up 17%. On the losing side now, PBS USD lost 27% to start the new week at 85 cents. Cygnus Credit Investments 8.5% preference shares due 2026 fell 17% to open Monday at $9.47. And Key Insurance was also down 17%. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index gained 7 points last week. That's about 1%. NCBFG was the TTSE's most traded stock. It opened Monday at $1.93 TT. AS Bryden was the TTSE's top gainer, up 15%. And on the losing side, Angostura Holdings fell 14% to open Monday at $11.05 TT. Over in the U.S., the Dow Jones and S&P 500 went up about 1% last week, while the Nasdaq was up 2%. At the pumps, gas prices in Jamaica rose $1.06 last week, while the cost of regular diesel was up 47 cents and low sulfur diesel rose 71 cents. In foreign exchange trading, it took an average $160.76 Jamaican to purchase $1 US last Friday. That's 76 cents less than the week before. $1 Canadian cost an average $117.93 Jamaican. $1 British pound cost $218.85 Jamaican, and you could buy €1 for $188.42 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices dipped 3% over the past 5 days, trading at $112,695 US on Monday, while Ethereum was down 9%, trading at $4,181 US on Monday. Market Recap was brought to you by My Money JA, the official data partner of Money Media. Subscribe to my newsletter for money news like this straight to your inbox. Go to getmoneynews.com to sign up. The link is in my bio. Let's get this money.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, is brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
The views expressed in this segment are not necessarily the views of Money Media. This information is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Welcome back. Before we introduce our analyst for this evening, let me take some of your comments and, of course, some of the responses to the poll question. Our poll question tonight was, what do you think of Fayval Williams being reappointed finance minister here in Jamaica? And let's see what you guys have been saying. Lauren Crow says the billionaire cabinet. Camicia Gordon says C, which is bring back Nigel. Lauren Grove says she never really got a chance to do much, so she deserves the opportunity. Moments with Stace also says C, bring back Nigel. Philip says A, one Fayval, approve the sale of Caymanas to SVL, please and thanks. Let me see if we have any other comments. Scotty says E, Kalila Reynolds, absolutely not. I'm not interested in politics, running for politics or that. Listen, I have enough stress in my life right now. I do not need any of those caps. Any other comments on that? I don't see any more. All right, so let's introduce our analyst for this evening. It's Leovani Dillon from JMMB. Leo is corporate manager at JMMB. Welcome back, Leo.
Yeah, man. Good night, Khalil. Good night to the viewers.
So tonight you're tracking NCB, which has been on the rebound lately. What is causing that, and is it sustainable?
All right. So let's take them piece by piece. So let's start off. Let's take a look first at the company's performance, right? So, all right. So first off, the numbers, the earnings for the company has been improving. So of course, they went through a bit of a period. So when you look on the performance for going back from financial year 2014 for them, they've steadily increased up to 2022. And then, of course, they kind of, fell off a bit. So you see that even into FY 2024, right? But if you look on the trailing numbers, you can see that recovery coming in. So this is more on the operating profit, right? It's a bit more volatile. So this is the total operating income. So of course, this is taking the investment side of the business and the insurance side of the business, right? So you can see that trend there largely higher, but towards the tail end, but in recovery, right? Now, when you look on the profitability now of the company, so this is specifically profits attributable to shareholders, right? That's been a bit more volatile. Of course, it's a big decline there in 2023 when they did the whole restructuring, and then you're seeing the recovery there, and at the tail end there, you're seeing that it's around $20 billion in terms of the trailing profitability of the firm. And in fact, when you look on the most recent quarter, so that's the June quarter, you're seeing that the profitability was up around 11%. And when you look over the 9 months period, it was up around 60%, right? So you're seeing some strong rebounds there in the tail end. In fact, I think the 9-month numbers actually exceed all of FY 2024 numbers in terms of the profitability of the firm. So it is improving on that metric also. Now, when you look at the equity, so you can see the equity of the firm been trending higher over the period. With a bit of a lumpy period, again, around 2022, 2023. Part of that have to do with IFRS 17. And of course, valuation of some of the assets on their books, but largely trending higher again, right? So good there. Now, here's how we start to touch into the recent performance. So the recent performance is there in the tail end of the graph. The next slide, I guess, will clarify it a bit more. So this is the historical price to book ratio of the company, right? So you're going back all the way to 2014, right? What you realize, interestingly, is that the price to book ratio of the company now, it's around the lows that you had around 2014, right? So of course you can see all the high there when the market was very enthusiastic. It was trading close to 4 times book. Right now it's trading a little north of half book, so it's like 0.61% times book. So basically a fraction of book value. But it's in recovery, but you can see it there at the tail end. So if you go into this slide here now, you can see the actual price movement of the stock. Right, again, coming from the highs in the 2020 in late 2019 going into 2020, and of course it's at these lows, and towards the tail end there you can see that little bump up. So here's what we're looking at here now. So I had mentioned it earlier now about the recovery. So this is the part that we're looking at here. So year to date still down, still negative year to date. However, it's way better than it was at the lows of the year. So the lows of the year was down over 40%. Wasn't doing so hot. Earnings came out. Okay, you realize that sharp move there. So earnings came out August 8th, somewhere around there. When that came out, the stock price shot up. The numbers were fairly decent. It's the same numbers I mentioned, the June numbers, were fairly decent. But I think there was a lot of fear in the market that it wasn't gonna be so hot. And I think that fear was subsided when those numbers came out, right? Because I think overall the sentiment on the stock has become overly negative. Because there's a lot of talk in the media what's happening with the firm. So what you even saw in July in particular, in July the company had the worst month that it had. The shares had the worst month that it had going back to 2013. So it's the 26% that month was the worst month. Subsequently, though, which is we've seen a rebound there in August, it had the best month that it's ever had going back to 2013, right? And that recovered most of those losses and then some, right? And then, of course, September, it's doing decent in September, up about 9%, right? So there is some recovery there. So to your point, yes, the rebound is there. Now, the question is now, what can we expect a little bit going ahead in terms of what's happened, right? So I'm going to answer that now by just touching on some other information points. So first off, the dividends. So what you're looking at here now is the dividend yield for the firm. So if you go back a bit for like 2014 financial year. So basically how this is looked at is the dividend yield of the firm when you look over a year period in terms of a calendar year. How much dividends declared for a year and what's the average stock price in that year, right? And then now you take a look on that and you can see historically it's been pretty high back in 2014, 2015. Of course, we know that dividends paused a bit, slowed down, so then it's still at low point there and it's kind of picking up now. So remember, the dividend is a function of two things. It's a function of the amount paid and it's a function of the stock price. So of course, you can be paying more, but the stock price up a lot. So then you don't really get a high dividend yield versus, a lower stock price with a higher payout amount in terms of the dividend payments. So when you look at it from this point of view, well, this is a bit messy, so I forgot to clean that up. It's a bit messy, but hopefully you can make it out here. So when you look at the dividend amount, right, the amount peaked around $3.60 a share. And you can see that steady increase for them. And then, of course, you had that lull period, and you can see that pickup again occurring in terms of the dividend payments, right? So it is a steady dividend payout. Again, for a period it wasn't, but now it's back, right? And yeah, so all right, so this is the final chart here. So just to wrap it up. So when you look on the overall performance at the start now, so again, You have the capital gains in terms of just the stock price movement, and you have capital gains along with reinvesting, right? You can see that there's been, I mean, if you just look at capital gains over that extended period going back from the end of 2015 to present, you'd see that it's up around 143%. But if you include the dividends that is paid over the period, which I alluded to before, it would have been somewhere around 209%. Now, so to answer that question, so yes, you've seen the recovery. You've seen the recovery in the stock price, and you've seen the recovery also with the performance of the company. However, there is still a lot of talks in the market in terms of some negative sentiments around it. So that of course would weigh down on the stock a bit. However, as long as the company continues to perform, I think in the medium to long term it should be fine in terms of they continue to grow profitability, control costs, pay higher dividends, then the sentiment can shift and move more to the positive. I think clearly, as of course that's in the rear view mirror now, we can say that July negativity was kind of overdone in terms of the sell-off that occurred there. It was drastic, and then of course followed with a drastic improvement in the stock price. So that is behind us, but we can use that as a guide to see that from time to time in the market, investors can get a bit overly negative,
and overly positive.
And overly positive, yeah,
both ways.
Because we saw where, as I showed before in the earlier chart, where the price to book ratio at one point was about 4 times, which for a financial firm is you're being very optimistic for a financial firm, because of the nature of the business. A price to book around 4x is pretty aggressive. So of course that would probably point to over enthusiasm. But right now on the flip side, you can see trading at 0.61 times book is you could argue is a bit pessimistic, right? So it kind of swings both ways. So that's a fair point.
It's a lot pessimistic. It's almost half of the value.
Yeah.
So Garfield says you've not indicated what is driving the recovery.
Okay, all right. So the recent recovery, I pointed to that, is the earnings. So there's a clear, when you look on the decline in the stock price, and then when it took off, there's almost a clear indication of it taking off right when the earnings came out, right? Then the stock just went straight up, right? What drove the massive sell-off? I can't answer for sure. I don't want to speculate. So I have my views as to what drive it, but that would be more speculation. So I'm going to leave that out. But in terms of the recovery, though, that was clear as day in terms of the when the recovery took out and when the earnings came out. And of course, you had rumblings in the market at the time in terms of confidence, but then those earnings, kind of shored it up that, the company's fine, they're doing well. And I think investors responded to that well. So I think that was the clear driver of the recent recovery. As to what can keep driving it, I think that would be it. The company would have to keep performing, generating that profitability, paying those dividends. And I think in time, that would be the driver of them going forward. If they're not able to do that, then of course it could be in for a rough ride a little bit, but that's the driver that's going to be needed to move the company forward. And they are set up positively for it. You see, because it's trading at 0.6, because of the current book value it's trading at, and the price to earnings ratio, which I think is around like 6 times or something like that, there isn't an egregious amount of optimism in the stock. So that means basically they have a high hurdle to jump. So it's not like the company has to be growing profitability by 50, 60% in order to meet expectations. It just needs to do a steady like 10, 15 steady growth back to the historical levels of profitability, and of course growing dividends along with that, and that would be enough, because it's already priced so cheaply. So it's not expecting a lot in the current valuation from the company.
We have quite a few comments on this topic. Phil says, overly positive on the JSE. When? Bring back those olden days.
Yeah, that's yes. But yeah, those days.
Yeah,
yes, those
2019
days
was the peak of it. 4 times book value. Come on.
Yeah, that was something else. But yeah.
A few more. So talking about the reason for the rise in the stock price.
Yeah.
Where's the comment? Kirk says the Catalyst was the major shareholder.
Okay. All right. I'm not really 100% sure what he's getting at there, but I'm
Let's
not
not go
sure.
too deep into that.
Yeah.
Learn, grow, because you
Mhm.
know they watch this show, right?
Yeah, man.
Where is it? Learn, grow, learn, grow. Had a comment I wanted to read. All right. So you mean the one-off earnings boost from the sale of assets? So is it that earnings are legitimately and genuinely and
Yeah,
sustainably
art.
increasing, or was it because of this one-off sale of
Yeah,
assets?
so that's a good point. So that one-off selling assets did help boost the numbers of the firm for the quarter. For the 9 months period, it did help boost the financials for the firm. I think it occurred in the Q2 numbers, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the to help boost the numbers overall. That being said, though, what the Q3 numbers have shown though is the stability of the firm. So that that's a good point, because I think that was something that occurred at the Guardian level, and of course would filter up to the group level in terms of that one-off gain. So that's a fair point. However, the thing is, when you look on, I'm not looking at any one metric. So the profitability is one thing, but when you're looking at the recovery, for example, on the balance sheet, and you're looking at the different line items that are driving it in terms of the income and the interest, the income from the investment side of the business, and you're looking at the overall that market dynamics. So for instance, you're seeing the U.S. lowering policy rate. Oh, that was mentioned earlier in the show. U.S. reducing policy rate, and of course the implications that can have for the BOJ here, which in turn would impact the financial industry in terms of lowering rates and the implications of that for their borrowing cost and business, right? So the overall environment. But yes, I do take the point that that's a fair point. That there's a one-off gain in that number that aided the gains in the quarter in the 9-month period. Sorry.
The
That's a
follow-up
point.
to that one from Cabby, recovery in net operating income. Not sure what the drivers are or whether they're sustainable or just the result of a one-off catalyst, which we just discussed. How do they compare to the industry?
Yeah, man. So all right. So in terms of so on the investment side, so the investment side of the firm, the overall industry, you are seeing recovery in the overall industry. Scotia, of course, is kind of anomaly in terms of the setup of their business. So they've been doing well steadily through the period. But if you're looking like broader across the industry, so whether it be your Baritas, your Sagicors, you're looking broader across the industry, you are seeing a broad-based recovery. Sagicor, I think, had some brilliant numbers coming out in their June numbers. They had some brilliant numbers coming out also. So you are seeing a broader recovery. I think Barita also, if I'm not mistaken, did also good. They had some good numbers also. So I think overall, so NCB though, when you look at it across the industry, yeah, they're doing across the industry as well, and NCB is also doing well. But a key point to note though, even though these companies operate in the same industry, most of the companies, most of these, how I would term them is the financial conglomerates, kind of separate from like the more niche players in the space, like for example your Mayberries, right? The financial conglomerates like at NCB, each one of them they're very different. So for example, Scotia, for argument's sake, Scotia Jamaica only operates in Jamaica, while of course NCB of course would be huge in Trinidad, especially through Guardian and their other operations, and they're huge in Jamaica. So what happens is that when you look at the underlying dynamics that impact these companies, it's completely different. So even though they're similar in a sense, that large conglomerates, the moving parts are wildly different. So because of that, what can actually happen, which we've seen actually in recent times, you can have a situation where a Scotia Group, for example, is performing very well, and then you have an NCB with a little bit more volatility in the numbers. So even though they're in the same industry, which is kind of unusual, but it's because of the nature. Each one of these building companies are extremely different when you look on even their geographic makeup.
Yeah. So Roswell says, the sale of assets in the group, investors need to understand financial statements. And we had somebody else commenting, Grandeur, commenting that PE is currently 5.6.
Yeah, so it's fairly low. Yeah, so it's pretty low. But again, as pointed out earlier, that number would be a bit generous, because of course, the one-off gain would kind of boost it. But even if you take that out, it would still be probably around the 10, 11 ballpark, which is still pretty low. But that's why generally when I'm looking at financial firms, I tend to more focus on the book value, because you can have a lot of volatility in the earnings from time to time, but the book value kind of gives you a more steady picture of what is happening with the firm. So that's why I tend to look more at the price, the book, and the book value of these firms. And then for financial firms, it's a much more pertinent measure of the value, because the assets are readily priced. So it's not like a manufacturing firm that have a lot of PP&E, which is kind of like specialized equipment that's not really marketable. Because of the nature of financial firms in terms of the assets that are usually on their balance sheets are pretty liquid, using a book value in order to measure them is usually a pretty good metric of the long-term value versus more than other industries. So that's the reason I tend to look at it, because it tends to smooth out more these one-off gain impacts, and you can kind of see the long-term value of the company.
Okay. Thanks so much for that insight and analysis, as usual, Leo. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the viewers for the questions. Keep them coming. Next time.
All right. We'll take our final break and come back with your questions and comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Guess what? You don't need to be rich in order to start investing. As a matter of fact, investing is how you get rich. You can start with as little as 1,000 Jamaican dollars at some firms, like this security guard that I met a few months ago. That's how much you started with?
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah. It's a good thing to do it still, to learn more.
Are you happy with it so far?
Yes.
Check out my Investing for Beginners course. Go to investingforbeginnersja.com to get started. Let's get this money. Final comments here. Raquel was commenting on the interview with Livingstone Morrison, the new CEO of the JSE. She noted what he said. There are certainly easier things to do with your time than come here and run the Jamaica Stock Exchange. She's also reminding everyone to like the video, moneymakers, tell a friend, and subscribe. So if you haven't hit that like button yet, take the opportunity and do so now. I quote, says he or she hope they continue with constantly improving the ease of investing in this digital age. Agree with you. Philip says, keep the APOs, but bring on shorting. Hey. Rob says, yes, please no more PDF reports. And Learn Grow adds, or scanned reports. Learn Grow again, talking about that conversation we just had in the Analysts about NCB. When we see the NAV for Select F improve, we know that the sector is improving. Philip says, Mayberry, we said, deals on deals. Roswell says, NCB is over leveraged. They say it themselves, don't be unnecessarily greedy. I see this type of operations in other listed companies. Learn Grow says, sell too many assets, then growth might become stifled. Regarding NCB's recent asset sale. Roswell says, consolidated earnings, NCBFG sale on the UK company reflected in the unaudited report would have made it look good on the trajectory side, though they have more potential. Nana Sense is commenting that a lot of stock was released on the market by shareholders who just want to cash out. NCB stock. And Learn Grow saying, I mentioned having an announcement back in August, waiting for the details. So the announcement is that the Money Mission workbook is going to be on the 7 Crave Marketplace coming Saturday. What day is Saturday? The 27th? Yeah, Saturday, September 27. So you guys will be able to check out the 7 Crave Marketplace very soon and be able to order your workbooks locally. So for those of you who don't want to order on Amazon and wait for the shipping, and you've gone to Fontana and maybe they're out of stock. They're back in stock now, by the way. They're definitely on the shelves. I have seen them with my own 2 eyes on the shelves, so you can head on over to Fontana. But if you want a local delivery option, it's going to be on 7 Crave Marketplace, which launches on Saturday. So that's that was the big announcement that I was promising. That's going to be coming very soon. I'm excited about it because it really does fill a need locally for vendors who have stuff to ship locally, ground transportation, and you have to be organizing pickup and drop off and collections and doing it one off. What Seven Crave is doing, and we're going to have them on the show probably next week, what they are doing is they allow you as a vendor to store your items in their warehouse. So I'm going to have my Money Mission workbooks at their warehouse. So when you order via the marketplace, they are able to fulfill that very quickly. So they don't have to come to me to pick up the book and then deliver to the customer. Although you do have that option as the vendor, but you also have the option to just store your stuff at their warehouse, similar to how Amazon operates. And that makes things a whole lot more efficient, and it makes for a lot less work for you as the vendor. So we're going to be learning a lot more about that next week. And I am participating via having the workbook being listed there. So exciting stuff ahead for local logistics, changing the game locally. We'll be hearing about that soon. What else did I want to say? So remember to like the video, subscribe to this channel, share with a friend. Don't forget to go to moneymissionja.com for access to all courses, community, the workbook, etc. Subscribe to the newsletter at getmoneynews.com. That's getmoneynews.com so that you don't miss everything that is coming up, as well as all our sales. You know, we're heading into the Christmas season. Black Friday is coming up. Whatever deals we're going to be having very soon. Follow me all over social media at kalila.money on Instagram and TikTok. Kalila Money on Twitter, and Money Media JA on Instagram as well. Please report the scammers and the impersonators when you see them. Remember, and if anybody asks, I do not sell cryptocurrency. I do not trade or invest on other people's behalf. I will never ask you for money. So when you see those people and those posts doing that, it's either AI or it's just fake. It's just a fake post. Report those pages when you see them. Now tell a friend about taking stock, because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalila. See you next week.